Hello, welcome back to this video series on A Course in Miracles. So we've got what is on the surface a very short and sweet message today. I say on the surface because, well, there is a lot that we could say about this. And when I start each video, I never know how long that actually may cover. I don't know how long I'm going to be speaking, and I don't know what's going to come out of my mouth other than I've got one thing planned. How about that? How about I tell you what the day's idea is that we're working with? That's helpful. And it's lesson 309 today in the workbook for students. I will not fear to look within today. I will not fear to look within today. Now, this, as all of the workbook ideas, can be repeated like a mantra if you so choose. Remember, what we're after here with practicing this workbook, with going through and learning, what we're after is not just intellectual appreciation of these ideas. We're not even after just purely intellectually understanding them, which is important. What matters more is that you apply it. In other words, you take it to heart, to your core, and it sinks in and you do it. You be it. You show up as the idea, doing and not doing it at the same time. You apply the message that this idea contains. So I invite you to do that in whatever way suits you today. Just that I invite you to do that. I will not fear to look within today. I will not fear to forgive today. I will not fear to smile at someone today. I will not fear to lay my judgments aside, however briefly, however briefly. It's huge, huge, right? I will not fear to look within. When we look within, we discover that our will and God's will are inseparable, one, same. That's powerful. Is it not? Because there is nothing that can oppose God's will. It simply is. And you share it. I share it. We all share it. This is what we discover when we look within. When we set our judgments to the side, our blame, our thoughts of attack, of belittling someone else, right? All of that. When we set that to the side, we're looking within, and this is what we discover. Now, what do we fear? Why, right? Why do we fear to look within? Well, maybe you have an answer for yourself. I mean, maybe you do. Right? Maybe it's quite clear to you why you get nervous at in-depth spiritual practice. Maybe it's quite clear to you why it's easier to forgive some people and not others, which is an example that we see throughout A Course in Miracles. Maybe that's clear to you, and maybe it's not. So wherever you land with that, there is a general fear that we've fucked up. How about that? Yeah. There's a general fear that we have made an alien will competing with God, and that we're to be punished for that because we feel extraordinarily guilty, a sinner, right? We have this fear that we've invented a world, a thought system, and we've endowed it by our own choice with reality. And we're fearful. because we appear to have done that. Now, in forgiveness and in spiritual practice, we learn gradually, if that's what it takes, right? And it most often does, doesn't it? That we really haven't done that. Who we are has never gone anywhere. When we look within, we wind up seeing that our will and God's will are exactly the same. That our self, capital S, our identity, capital I, has never gone anywhere. It was created by God, given by God, and has remained in God. Ideas leave not their source. A very key philosophical component from A Course in Miracles. It's even more than that. I mean, it's true. Those are just words. Ideas leave not their source. So we discover when we let go of our fear to look within that we have not left our source. You have not left your source. Repeat that like a mantra. You have not left your source, capital S, of course. You have not left your source. Say it with me. So this is a very, very powerful idea today. And what I invite you to take away from this is that, number one, spirituality is all about how you apply the idea. And it's about a willingness, as the Course calls it, a little willingness, the little willingness that we're to bring to the table here. It's our little willingness to lay our judgments aside, again, however briefly, even if it's only for a few moments, that enables you to see things differently. It enables a shift in perception, which this course is all about. Who we really are is, of course, beyond the pale of any spiritual curriculum. Love, right? Joy, boundlessness. Those are all above and beyond. They're beyond all concepts. What we're doing here is we're, in fact, setting our painful concepts, our blame, judgment, aside, and we are exchanging that for a happier perception, for a more loving and forgiving dream. This is what we're doing here, is we're changing our mind. So it does not make any difference how long or short the period of time is where you're able to lay your judgments to the side and look within. Even a split second is tremendous. Having done that once today, I invite you to do it again. And again, and again, and again, and again, and again. Because as we discover, and as the Course reassures us in many, many places, we have not sinned. It's impossible. It's impossible. So, as I said a couple of minutes ago, we have not fucked up. We have not done anything wrong. We have not committed a grave error worthy of punishment, dismemberment, and death. That image of God, I mean, let's leave that behind. Fear is not of God. Love is. Love is completely forgiving and overlooks the fact that we just made a mistake. We've chosen the wrong teacher. The ego is not a reliable teacher. How do we know? Well, how do you feel? Are you always joyful and happy? Or do you fall back into an ingrained pattern of blame, hatred of self, hatred of others, judgment, comparisons, right? Comparative reality. Do you fall back into that, right? When we fall back into that, we bring the present moment awareness that we gather along the spiritual path, that we develop, those are words that were used. Gather, develop, it's who we are, that we make way for is one way of putting it. As we set our judgment and blame aside, that opens up space, so to speak. It opens up a gap in which we come to experience who we are. So let us not fear to do just that today. That is the essence of Lesson 309. And in fact, it's the essence of the spiritual path. Let us not fear to look within, because that is where the answer is. And you are the answer.